Hey guys, good evening tonight. So I wanted to talk about something that I think is really cool, something that I feel like explains a lot about human psychology that's at the root of a lot of human problems. And I filmed this about 3 or 4 times, and I'm not really sorry to say that, you have to kind of check how you say things in today's internet world, or somebody will try to crush you, and something you say can be like, or something you might have done 10 years ago that, whatever. Just the internet is a tough place. The world is a tough place. So, I've been thinking about filming this, I'm trying to type it, but I work so much that I haven't gotten around to it. And I figured, let's just wing it. Let me wing it. So I came up with this concept. It's not really a concept because this is something that happens to everyone in life. I just kind of gave it a name, and it's the mental series of events that causes people to act a certain ways towards others based on fear or experience, rather. So I call it self-defense mechanism, isms. And by isms, it could be like racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, but not everything is going to be called an ism. It's not all going to be, it's not all going to rhyme like that. It'd be cool if it did. We maybe can find a way to make it all rhyme. But, so, you may have bigotry, self-defense mechanism bigotry. It's not going to rhyme. It's not going to be an ism. But what self-defense mechanism is, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, and you probably got the whole point of this video just from that like arrangement of words just now. But I think self-defense mechanism isms is a fear-based reaction. It's a psychological problem where you act sexist or racist or anti-religious, like a bigot, or maybe you act homophobic or transphobic or any kind of thing out of something that you don't quite understand. And your paranoia creates these scenarios where you're like, oh, maybe I need to be afraid of that. But let's talk about some very common specific ones that I've seen happen to people. And anyone can be a victim of self-defense mechanism isms. Like, I know wonderful people from all race, genders, nationalities, religions, and I've heard people from almost every ethnic group, every gender, every religion say things that can only be explained by self-defense mechanism ism. So let's dive into some of the examples that I have seen. So I have seen men who get falsely accused of a rape situation, a domestic violence situation, maybe some other guy called the cops on him and accused him of having a gun or a deadly weapon, and so the police show up with a gun drawn, ready to shoot because they were told the individual was armed with a deadly weapon. So they develop a fear of the cops. So on the false accusation and in the domestic violence sense, they would become maybe slightly sexist out of a sense of self-defense mechanism. And they might be a little bit anti-police if they have a repeated amount of exposure to bad experiences with the police. So it's a type of self-defense mechanism ism. The counterpart for that would be a woman who has been repeatedly exposed to violence from men, attempted rapes, sexual harassment, things like that. A self-defense mechanism ism for a woman, the sexism against men would come from exposure to bad experiences with men. And so I feel like a way, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be personal experience. Sometimes you could see like you could just see some of the struggles that women go through in life and develop a sense of self-defense mechanism, sexism, because you think the world is unfair towards women, or you think the world is unfair towards men, so you become sexist against women. So it's just a concept that I think that really explains a lot of today's behaviors. The same thing can apply with racism. I'm a minority in the United States of America, and I have been discriminated against, but I have personally never let that give me a self-defense mechanism, racism. But I've seen almost every minority, not everyone, of course, but every group has minorities who have a self-defense mechanism type of racism towards other races. I've seen blacks who hate Mexicans. I've seen Mexicans who hate blacks and whites. I've seen blacks who hate whites. I have seen whites who hate everybody. So it's one of those things that it really does happen. We all do develop a sense of self-defense mechanism, racism, or anything else, even when it comes to religion. Um, in America, they sell that Middle Easterners and Muslims are so violent, and they're killing us and trying to kill us, and they're anti-American and anti-Christian. And so, there was a point in time I met a Muslim guy, and I was a little afraid. But rather than shying away from that, I spoke to him. I tried to learn about him. I was like, hey man, tell me about the Muslim religion. What's going on? And his reply to me was like, well, it's not really that different from being a Christian. We worship the same God. We're brothers and sisters. You and I are brothers. And we talked in depth about his religion, and I realized it wasn't that different from us. He was just the same as me, just a guy who worshiped the same individual God, but it was just a few little different practical differences here and there. So I realized then that the media just sells us this narrative of we're supposed to dislike each other sometimes, and that's not always the case. But even though I had no experience with Muslim people, the fact that what I was being told gave me a self-defense mechanism, bigotry, a little bit of bigotry then. And I'm open-minded where I ask questions and became comfortable with it, but not everybody is like that. So I feel like self-defense mechanism explains so much as why we are divided as a nation. We are divided as a world. And I mean, there's even self-defense mechanism nationalism, where like you have people screaming, get those immigrants out of here. They're stealing our jobs. They're afraid that Hispanics or immigrants are stealing the wealth and the opportunity. And it's not necessarily the case, but that's, I don't really want to get into that broad spectrum of that conversation. It's a fear-based reaction, and that's what self-defense mechanisms isms are. They're fear-based reactions that most of the time are not true. And anything with fear is usually an illusion. I mean, yeah, there's a possibility that the fear and the illusion could become a reality, but sometimes by acting on those fears and having a physical response, a physical manifestation response, even if it's just the way we stare at somebody or think of somebody or treat somebody, it creates that. Our body language is very powerful. Us humans communicate with our body, with our facial expressions, with our demeanor. I mean, heck, right now my arms crossed. I'm cold, or I'm an uncomfortable speaker. The truth is, I'm a little uncomfortable speaking because this is something new, and as far as I know, I am the only one that is pursuing this. I'm sure I'll find my allies soon. I'm sure I'll find the people that are going to join my side. But right now, yeah, I'm putting myself out there, and my self-defense mechanism is telling me I should be a slightly uncomfortable. But that's okay, you know. You take a chance to do something, and you speak on what you think is right, and you try to make the world a better place. So for our movement, I want to make everyone aware that self-defense mechanism isms are a thing, and sometimes they don't have to involve like a different race, religion, gender, or anything else. Sometimes they involve like my girlfriend's parents doesn't like me, so I don't like them because of it, you know. This one I've seen, or you know, so and so doesn't like me, so I don't like them. It has nothing to do with race, gender, religion, or anything that have to do with inequality. It's just the flawed human mind finding a way to cope with somebody disliking you. And so, yeah. So, as I was saying, for our movement, I would like for everyone to be aware of self-defense mechanism isms and realize that we all have them, that we all do them. And if we acknowledge them and work through them, then we can actually not be afraid and find more reasons to accept each other, and understand why sometimes we don't accept each other, and find ways to rationalize with ourselves why we should not be a fear-led movement. Our movement should not be fear-based. It should be based on understanding ourselves, psychological understanding, psychological healing, because everyone in the world has some kind of trauma they have experienced. And the only way that we can get past those traumas is by acknowledging that, yeah, like for example, if you're a lady and a man hurt you, I know you know that not all men, and you know that's a thing people make fun of, but you understand that not all men do that. And if you're a man and you got falsely accused, not all women do that. So for every point of view, there's an opposite point of view, and the way to defeat those irrational point of views is to actually rationalize them and figure them out. So self-defense mechanism isms is, what are your self-defense mechanisms? What are your like self-defense mechanism isms, and can you work on them, and can you get past them? Thanks for watching.